Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of seas, candy, San Francisco, psychology, tequila, sneaker collecting, and so much more. With today's guest, Mr. Jaime Salas, the national brand ambassador for William Grant & Sons Milagro Tequila. We sat down and chatted at Luster Pearl East here in Austin, Texas. He was spreading some Milagro gospel previously at La Condesa, and I caught him just as he was on his way out of town. And today is National Tequila Day, and what better time to talk tequila, talk psychology, and talk about growing up as a Mexican-American in San Francisco with lots of interesting nuances therein. So I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Milagro Tequila's Jaime Salas.
Although my tequila collection almost has me out of the house and home.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's big. And my shoe collection is just as bad. To tell you that I had to purchase its own closet just for sneakers.
But that's what happens.
That's what happens.
One Saturday morning, I've accumulated a great collection of Nike sneakers. SBs for me, because I'm a punk rock kid, skateboarder, right?
Okay.
Don't look good in high tops necessarily. My wife had to buy a shoe rack. She's surprised. That was the gift.
Yeah.
Normally, it's like, hey, we're going to go to Mexico. We're going to go to New Orleans. This time around, it was a fucking shoe rack.
Yeah. It was like, here, get organized. Yeah. Get your shit out of my way.
Yeah, just kind of tighten it up just a little bit.
So, So, you mentioned Nike. I'm a Nike. Yeah, I'm a shoe fanatic, particularly sneakers. And I know my way around a sneaker collection. So much so that I say sneakers now because... So Nike is one of my favorite brands.
Yeah.
I'm old school, I guess, in that regard, depending how you look at it. Yeah, I've had Pumas, Adidas. Right. I was a b-boy at one point in my life.
No shit.
And so I love that what it means for me. But I think consistently throughout sort of my life, it's been because you mentioned my cousins and I, we rode bikes as kids, right? We skated as kids.
Hell yeah.
So for me, it was depending on what I was doing. That's what I've sort of was drawn to. So Nike's constant. I do love high tops.
Do you like high tops?
I look okay in high tops.
Okay, good.
I like them. My favorite shoe is probably the Air Max Original, the one.
Oh man,
I do like. But I'm also from Cali, so I love my Vans.
Yeah.
So I have some collectibles, and then I have some stuff. And now that I'm older, and I go for things that are more functional, but that are still cool. So it's what I mean by I know my way around it. Now I'll dress up a suit with sneakers.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a true blue sneakerhead all the way around.
But that's so here's the interesting thing. Tequila. So oddly enough, I collect sneakers and I collect bottles. For me, it's mezcal. Obviously, some tequila, bourbon, all this, right? For a pair of sneakers, how much is too much to spend?
It's a great question, right? Because the same question could be had for tequila or mezcal.
Right, yeah.
You talk about so I love agave distillates. I started with tequila for sure, but it was more prevalent. It was more readily available. Mezcal's been my latest obsession, and that by far, on the average, exceeds the average bottle of tequila. I would say, oh God, this is a horrible question.
No, I think it's a great question because I'm sure we're both on that same level. We're like, no, it's not too much for a pair of sneakers.
It depends on the maker, the function of the sneaker. For example, a dressy, cool sneaker that I can get away with to wear up and down.
Yeah.
I might spend a little bit more money on than, say, a resale of a collectible Jordan. You know what I mean? Which is probably sold for $125, but now is being resold for $450. I'm going to be the guy who's going to be like, no, I'm going to get it at $125, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I then will spend, oh, God, my coworkers already know the answer to this and probably going to hate me if they hear it. I've been known to spend, oh, God.
I got to know.
I've been known to spend $1,200, $1,300.
Fuck, that's good, though. Yeah, all right. I haven't done that on sneakers yet because I feel like I can clean them okay, and so I'll buy them kind of ratty.
But and the sad part is that the average for like a high end, like a luxury sneaker, is probably like $600.
Man,
And that in itself, most people go, I've, people who've talked to me scoff at it and think, wow. And I get it. I know how it sounds.
Totally, yeah.
I hear myself say it. I don't do it as often now. I cringe at spending $300 for a bottle of mezcal.
Yeah.
But it happens.
It does, man.
Yeah,
but
it
I mean,
happens.
they're great experiences. Sometimes you deserve these things,
I
Treat
think
yourself
so.
every now
And you know what? I
again.
think we all work very hard. My priorities are intact. I know where and when. My family's very important to me. I'm a provider to them. I want to ensure that I lead a quality life and one that I can be proud of. And those things, to your point, I do see that way. I see them as tokens, and it's something that we know is fleeting. I know it's just a thing.
But it's
if
more
they
than
burn
that.
down, my apartment were to burn down, God forbid, today, I wouldn't cry over it, to be quite honest.
Sure.
I'm at that point in life. But I do appreciate the hard work I put into what I do, the conviction with which I do it with. And if I want to treat myself to something, I will. And I typically don't regret it because I just feel like,
what's the point in regretting it?
and there's no
anyway?
time for that.
There
really isn't time for that. And I think what's happened in life, what I've been through, what I've experienced, both the ups and the downs, the goods and the bads, I think have all led me to that point. So I'll treat myself to it. You're not paying for it. So what is it?
What's the matter
what
to you?
business is it of yours?
Yeah.
You'll also be the first to compliment me on them, right? But let me
Absolutely.
have that moment. It's me. And so it's I think it's all very subjective.
I think so too. And you're a well-established person with a beautiful career. So this is how I like to structure some of these chats. William Grant and Sons folks, again, I'm running out of you because I've met with so many of you and got to explore your lives, which is brilliant. And now we're going to talk about Milagro. The thing is, though, the way I'd like to do this, so we've got 3 marks, right? We've got the Blanco, the Repo, and then the Añejo, right? Great. So what I'd like to do is use these to punctuate different chapters in your life. That's how I'd like to structure this narrative.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great.
So I want to sip the Blanco because it's young.
Yeah.
It's uncharred.
Yeah. It's untainted.
Untainted.
It's youth. It's the beginning.
Exactly. So it's a beautiful metaphor for you growing up in San Francisco.
Yes.
So I'll or you can pour a little bit in this and we'll sip and we'll talk about what it was like to grow up in San Francisco.
Let me pour you a little bit of our Milagro Silver.
The flagship. Yeah.
Flagship of the portfolio here. Nice, crisp, slightly vegetal. Beautiful.
The only bottle that I finished with my stepfather in recent memory.
Very nice. Citric note, like some fruity quality. Speaks of Mexico, and it speaks to. So that's a good segue to me, I suppose, and my roots, my young roots. Salud, by the way, cheers. And where I started. So my life's journey, I suppose. Yeah. So my mother migrated to Mexico, to San Francisco.
From where?
From Mexico, from Jalisco.
From Jalisco, no?
Yeah, and she went out there. Half of her siblings were still back in Mexico. The other half decided to come out here and give it a try.
Yeah.
She came out to San Francisco. I think I get my work ethic from her. Super hard worker. She started working. She worked at C's Candy Company.
Candy?
Yeah, at one
man.
point.
So
which
good.
is very ironic as well as iconic of San Francisco. If anyone knows C's Candies, because it's that thing. Like not everyone knows. People that know and appreciate it.
Those
right?
suckers are fucking
Yeah,
epic.
the peanut butter one.
Oh, yes.
It's not. I know it's not peanut butter. I think it's caramel.
Yeah,
but I always equated it to peanut butter. That's
so good.
So my mom used to bring those home.
Yeah.
Which is one of my fondest memories of her. But she came to the United States. I credit her with affording me the opportunity to grow here. I consider myself bicultural in every sense of the word.
What's the other primary culture for you?
Well, American, right?
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I'm Mexican American.
Yeah.
Technically, right? But growing up, sorry, and you probably meant like the other part is Mexican, I guess. So it's Mexican American. Purely by being born here from Mexican parents makes you Mexican American. But when I say bicultural, I mean the duality of being raised in both countries at any given time and being influenced by both in such a very inherent, intrinsic way that really helps to shape your outlook and your perspective on life. And I consider myself more Mexican than I do Chicano, which is another term commonly used for someone who's Mexican American who's being raised on this side of the border. I love everything about Mexico. I love everything about my mom and what she embodied about the culture and what she was proud of. And these are all things that I personally had the opportunity to experience back in Jalisco. So for me, My dad is from Nayarit, from Nayarit, which is the northern, it's the state to the north, Jalisco, also an agave producing state. So growing up in San Francisco, I was very influenced by those guys, and obviously going back home or going back to Mexico, the motherland as I like to call it.
Sure.
Because being raised Mexican, you never quite lose that.
No, well, and nor do you want to, in a sense, right? It's a pride, isn't it?
It's a very point of pride. Yeah. It's the same. I like to equate it to, and it's very interesting because it's that now living in the East Coast, for example, I'm now based in New York, and encountering that Italian guy, right, who says, "Hey, man, I'm Italian," and the minute you call him American, he's almost offended. It's like, come on, you're Italian American. Yeah, no, but I'm Italian. And I'm like, how many generations in are you? He's like 9. I'm like, but they don't lose that sense of pride, right? Latinos are the same way.
Yeah.
Mexicans are the same way. More so, I think, when you've experienced that personally, right? So having been raised there, having been raised part-time here, I think I got a sense for that. So growing up in San Francisco, one of the things I loved about it, San Francisco. It's this hippie bohemian spirit.
But were you embracing that hippie spirit, or were you punk rock and revolting against it?
Well, it's funny because I think it did influence me, and I think it made me far more tolerant. Yeah. In hindsight, it made me very tolerant to different people, different walks of life. It's a city in its own right. It's a pin spot. It's a tiny little city, right? I mean, most of the city's nestled up against the north, eastern part of the peninsula. It's a small city, but that's where we lived. We lived in the Mission, which is probably one of the most colorful areas. Oh, yeah. You go back now, it's hardly recognizable to me. But back then, it was super Latino. We used to shop in La 24, which is 24th Street in Mission. And you'd go and you'd get your masa for your tamales, and you'd get all these things. And the primary, sort of influence around that area and cultures that were represented were Peruvians, Central Americans, and Mexicans. So growing up in San Francisco was very diverse. It was very cool, and I think it helped to set me up for the people that I would later engage with and stuff. So it was cool. It was good. It was fun. And it made me very tolerant towards other cultures and nationalities and such.
What do you do on a weekend? Like, what was the thing that you kind of
San
like
Francisco?
to do? Yeah, for you. I mean, you go to the market.
What you do is, at the time we had families still there, so we would get together, we would hang out, we would go out and enjoy the city as well as go out of the city. One of the benefits of San Francisco is where it's located, right? It's not just San Francisco, it's California, right? It's the Bay Area. You go into the valley, you go into the rivers and the lakes, you go tubing and you go boating. It was those types of things. But I think living in San Francisco, I think it's just the general in and outs of the city, going out to buy tortillas and for your family, whatever. That in itself is an experience, right? Being able to recall what it's like to be in Mexico is much smaller. It's a town. You're dealing with family members more often than not, and then to come out here and to fend for yourself in a major city gives you a very interesting perspective on life, right? And it gives you duality in a sense for what it is, and it also helps to shape or introspect and sort of who you are, right? Because being raised Mexican American, having an affinity for tequila, then not knowing that you're going to work in it,
right?
People are constantly asking you where you're from, and it's funny because I could have easily defaulted to I'm Mexican American to end the conversation, but I always egged them on because I always thought, well, why even ask me? That Italian American doesn't get asked that, right? But of course, I'm brown and I don't look the part, perhaps, and so I get asked, where are you from? So growing up there was interesting. I had English as a second language in San Francisco. There had a lot of bilingual schools. My first school was bilingual. First language was Spanish. So you're constantly being barraged by where were you from, and et cetera, et cetera.
Was it an abrupt change for you? Not necessarily change, but was it a difficult culture shock to ultimately kind of get immersed into white culture in a way, right?
In a way it is, yeah, because you're also put into a bubble to a degree that's oftentimes pierced, right, in a shocking way. Because what I mean is you have the Mission, which is predominantly Latino,
right?
But then you have your differences between who you perceive to be like you, but then you turns out they're Peruvian and you don't really quite know what that means.
Oh man,
but they're different than you, right? Yeah. But then you engage in the food and you think, who cares? It's amazing, right? And that's kind of how you grow up. And again, that exposes you to people and you become more tolerant, you become more embracing, at least I did, of all the differences. And then you have the gentrification that happens, and then you have the person that comes in that, absolutely does sort of pierce that. And you think, okay, yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore. Different somewhere. You're definitely somewhere else. But you begin to acculturate. And I think what you do is you take the best things of you, the cultures, what you assimilate and can relate to, and that becomes part of your life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I loved being different. I love having the duality of like, I get where my parents are from because I've lived it.
Yeah.
I also embraced it in a way where I know what I hate most about it. I know what I love most about it. And I can say that same thing for where I lived and where I was at that present moment. I know what I loved about the U.S., but I also know what I hated about it.
If
right? No one's perfect.
So if we to travel to the present for just a moment, do you feel like we are growing farther apart as people, right? Like, I think spirits are a very unifying thing, like you mentioned with Peruvian food, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
Food and booze are two of the last vestiges of culture which you have to be in person to experience, right?
I agree 100%.
And it rallies us, which is great.
Yeah.
The internet does the opposite. But, like, you're traveling around. There's a question I commonly ask, but have you noticed people getting farther away from each other and less accepting? Or has it been the opposite?
You know, it's a great question. I mean, it'd be hard for me to just sort of, come up with an immediate or a response that holds true and fast to, part of the job is it's afforded me an opportunity to meet a lot of people from different walks of life. And I would say in general terms that, yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things, the catalyst, for example, that we use most in our industry, which is the internet, right? Social media, et cetera, I think does divide people. I think, you can curate a conversation to a point where you're talking to everybody that's like-minded because, well, it's
insular at that point.
Insular.
Right?
Absolutely. And to your point, I love food, right? Yeah. And you talk about growing up, and I came from a family that loves to cook and cook together. And my mother was a phenomenal cook. Her sisters, tasting their food is like tasting my mother's. Yeah. All that stuff was very impressionable. And I think what happens is you get to a point where you meet people, you deal with people, and you quickly realize, yes, to your point, spirits. This is a way to unify, come together, talk, let go by way of some of the rhetoric and some of the, people walk into a room or an event, a tequila event, and there's this sense for like, I want to learn more, but then there's also this benefit of I'm going to drink, I'm going to relax, and by way of just engaging, I will learn not only more about what's happening, why we're deliberately there, but also just an ancillary like people and cultures and things that probably you didn't expect to, right?
It makes it, not that it ever wasn't, but drinking tequila, no matter who you are, makes it okay to acknowledge Mexico.
Right.
It makes it okay
Absolutely.
to talk about the people, the language, the terroir, right?
Right.
In a way, it's this wonderful gateway drug like mezcalis.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. So for you, though, you're saying, I don't notice a huge difference in people because you're around drinking with them. Of course they're going to be more
so
open.
my set with them, the time when I engage with them is mostly on that other side of the fence, right?
Yeah.
That side of like, to your point, we have a commonality here. Nothing else may matter.
Right.
We may be completely on opposite ends of the political spectrum, everything else. But when it comes to why we're here in tequila, and even Mexico, I might like Mexicans, I might not like Mexicans, I might like going to Cancun, right? But it's that opportunity, right, that it lends us to your point, talk about the culture, acknowledge it. And it's my opportunity to say, without, demystify it a little bit, for them to understand this is what it is, this is what it's about, this is my perspective of the culture. Everybody has their own lived experience and perspective and the goggles they see through. But yeah, it is a great opportunity to do that. So for me, I suppose I focus more on that. But do I think we're getting farther away? Absolutely. I think that, I think, again, eating together, breaking bread, forcing that interaction, hopefully not forcing, but having that interaction, encouraging it in a way that's healthy and that says, you know what, let down your guard, sit down. Nothing of what you think about regarding anything other than what's happening now, which is to enjoy this food and enjoy each other's company matters.
Be in the moment. I
think that's what we're losing most of, because when you think you are on social media and you're living that moment virtually, you're not living the moment that's happening to you in reality, right?
Yeah.
And realism is something that, again, could be subjective, but at the end of the day, these are our realities, right? And for me, I'd rather have those moments, whether they're set up to be that, a tequila dinner, what have you, to live and have that conviviality, right? Mm-hmm. It's something that in Mexico is very, very prevalent. It's something that people are very conscious about. It's el convivir, no?
Yeah.
To experience, to live it, to to feel it together.
Together,
It's that
right.
sense of like, when you go to Mexico, so I spend a lot of time in Mexico City, and I have an apartment there with a friend that I share. And when I go back, I feel like this is amazing. People still in a progressive city like Mexico, okay?
Yeah.
Mexico City, super progressive, vibrant, rich, like electric. People still sit down to talk. Phones get put away.
Yeah.
Dinners last 3-4 hours.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. That is practically non-existent here. But when we have a spirited dinner, we do something like that, and we encourage people to sit down and talk for 3 or 4 hours. That's exactly what we're doing. When I lead a dinner, it's not about let me just speak at you. Let me talk at you. No, for me, it's about we're going to laugh a little bit. We're going to enjoy. The tequila Milagro will be the lubricator.
Sure, of course.
Like any bottle of wine would be at a family dinner. Like
label doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters then is the catalyst and what it's intended. And what's intended is for you to just be there and enjoy and hopefully talk and hopefully live an experience that is memorable.
Yeah.
And that in summation of it all, when you look back and you're 85,
These
it's
are some
something
pretty
you recall
good
on with
experiences.
positivity. You think, you know what, that was fun. That was cool. One of the best things about this job and what I do is to oftentimes you get rewarded or acknowledged for what you know, how much you know. And that's
Right.
flattering in itself. I've worked hard to garner that information, to learn, to really take it in and then be able to share it. I'm a firm believer that knowledge is social currency, especially when it comes to bartenders and consumers. But I love the idea of just like someone going, you know what, this is great. You've lived a good, I want to think about the fact that we all want to live a quality life. We all want to have a good experience. And this should be more about people and engagement. So when I find somebody that says to me, Jaime, you it's because of you I had a great time. You made this fun. I love that you know a lot, but more importantly, it's how you made me feel.
Right.
I know it's cliche and I know it sounds
but
a little,
that's how
but
it
that
is.
to
It's
me is what is
experiential, yeah.
rewarding. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's no longer and I'm still flattered by it, but it's no longer just I love how much you know about agave distillates.
Yeah.
For me, it's about, you know what, dude, having spent this time in the room with you was fun, encouraging, and
That's
enlightening.
what the reward
Great.
really is.
Yeah, it is what the reward is. I think when you're at a point in your life where you value people and what they bring and the experience, and you quickly realize that this is why, for example, when someone leaves your life, you mourn them. It's because it's not just it's who they were, it's their presence, the fact that they're irreplaceable.
That's right.
Anyone can argue that when it comes to work and the job you do, that most of us are replaceable.
Yeah, in the function itself.
But not in life.
Yeah.
Not in life. And I've kind of, segued my way. And one other flattering comment I've received from people who do sort of pick up on that about me when I do present and stuff is that they're like, oh, you're a nurturer, you're a caring dude. But more importantly, like you want people to feel good. And that's true. That's for me.
Yeah.
That's
that's
purely egotistical of me because that really is something that I do for me.
But that's bound to be the result of a very, very hardworking and compassionate family.
It is.
It has to be.
It is. The mother I speak to about that did this and sort of encouraged that passed away recently, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's definitely an homage. It's a thing of like, this is how I raised. This is what I was taught. I miss her dearly every day, but I think to myself, this is what would make her proud. And in turn, it's something that I've always valued, but I'm far more conscientious now more than I've ever been. So for people to pick up on that, that's absolutely flattering. It's cool to live experiences. This is what life is made of.
It is a brilliant career and brilliant position. So I want to talk about, I jumped into the present, my mistake, because there's just a lot of shit going on right now. So it's nice to talk it out. It actually makes me feel just a little bit better about stuff, right? Which is important, right?
Right.
But I'm curious in terms of, obviously there's this recent chapter where you've worked with tequila for many years. I think you said somewhere around 15 years now. But this intermediate phase, this immediate
the reposado phase.
The reposado phase.
Yeah.
You're seeing right through my tricks here, Jaime. I'm just curious in terms of school and the collegiate career. As someone, your parents coming and migrating into the States, that's part of the American dream. So when you talk about official education, going to college, like where was that? Okay, let's pause. We'll taste the repo and let's talk about this academic pursuit or lack thereof, depending what kind of guy You are. No judgment, I assure you.
There's the
Thank
reposado.
you, sir.
Highland agave, 100% Jaliscan Highland. We're looking at about 2 to 4 months in contact.
2 to 4
American
months.
White Oak Whiskey. Salute to you.
Salute. So how did you feel about that piece? Being a professional, being a doctor, all these rubbish careers that you're supposed to do. What was the path for you? Where'd
What
you
was
see
the
yourself
goal?
going? Yeah.
Well, I started college.
Where'd you go?
I didn't finish.
No, that's all right.
But I
Where did you start going?
I started community college out in Central Valley in California,
Yeah.
and then the plan was to transition over to San Jose State, which I did do, and I
Cool.
did take a few classes out.
What? Any particular focus at that point,
But
or
at
just
the time,
whatever?
You know what's funny? Because at the time, actually, that's the better question. Because those that know me, this will make absolute sense to psychology.
Amazing.
Yeah, that
Me
was
too.
my passion, and so really,
Yeah.
perfect. So, you know,
I got talked out of it, by the way,
as different as I mean, want to come off, it kind of sort of lays right into sort of, I guess, my perspective on life, right? Because now it all makes sense to anybody listening. But yeah, so people, the study of people, it's engaging for me. It's interesting to me.
Do you like? All right. Here's something I find myself doing. Tell me if you do this as well. Someone comes to you with a problem. Inevitably, people open up to us. I have a feeling people open up to you pretty freely. When's your birthday, by the way? The date?
March 28th.
March 20th. Okay.
I'm an Aries.
Yeah. So it makes some sense. Do you like solving and diving in and digging into those problems and trying to
I do.
get them? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think exploratory self-exploration is important. I think a lot of people are not self-aware.
They're totally
in
not
the world.
self-aware.
And I think what's funny about, maybe not funny, but one of the things that sometimes imbibing or enjoying a cocktail will do is it'll show those things,
Yeah.
right? But I think that everybody's inherently good-natured for the most part. So anyway,
Sure.
not to get into college too much, but that was kind of like, you know, what I wanted to do.
Could you consider that helping people? Was that a way? Your way?
Yes, absolutely. In terms of what I thought I would get out of it, it was absolutely selfish for the most part. What I mean by for the most part is if there's anything that was at all sort of self-serving was that it was of interest to me, obviously.
I have a
It was
huge
engaging
grin
for
on
me
my
to
face.
solve.
Of
Absolutely.
course, yeah.
Like here's the puzzle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But in the end, no. In the end, it was about helping somebody find their way or whatever that may be, right? Just I think about life coaches now, and I think I would stay on that path. Like, I think at some point in life, that's sort of where I would want to end out,
Right.
be a life coach. I think having had this type of career, if anything, has given me a great perspective on the dynamic that is people and their personalities. But yeah, so I started out with that, and I thought to myself, this is great. Simultaneously, we did. I did like nightlife stuff.
What, for instance?
Promoting
okay.
that kind of thing.
Were you ever DJing?
I played around with the formally paid for, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know my way around turntables. And so now I'm in that young 20 stage. This is back in San Francisco, and I'm thinking to myself, to your point, because I think where this is going is, what do you want to do? How do you want to apply this, right?
Right,
At the time, I'm thinking, okay, do I want to do the whole psychology thing?
Because you got to go. It's a lot of schooling,
Right. It's a lot of schooling, but also it was that thing. So why nightlife and all that's important is because I think it all stemmed from me just loving music and wanting to go out and party and loving dance music and house music and all the stuff that I absolutely loved. And it's what brought me to want to learn about it, play it, live it, listen to it, dance to it, etc.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of great people through it. Well, it also showed me that, wow, Jaime, can you see yourself sitting in a chair talking to somebody about their problems? Right? When you have... I felt, I guess I wasn't just quite there yet. And although I know it would take me a while to get there.
Well, it's hard. Early 20s, you're saying?
Yeah, you're thinking, why would I subject myself to that? I get that I'd have to learn and educate myself more in order to get to that point. And then I would be in my late 20s, early 30s at that point. But I thought to myself, I'm way too much of a dynamic person. I'm way too big of a personality to do that. So the key component here that might come as a surprise to most people that most people may not know is that I started living on my own at 17.
No kidding.
So I left home at 17. I graduated high school, left home.
So real quick, was with many people, like my wife, she left home for a reason.
Yes.
For you, was it a contentious relationship, or was
Yes.
it just?
It was with my father for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Which is tough. And by all means, I wouldn't change anything,
Sure,
only because it's made me who I am, and I have that very fiery, very passionate, loving, caring, nurturing, but also very self-starter, go-getter spirit that my mom had.
Yeah.
And my mom did, I remember till recently, was very upset because she always blamed my dad for why I left. But I would always tell her, listen, those things happen.
Right.
My dad and I, since then, he passed away as well. But since then, we made up and everything was great. It was just that thing of you're young, you're rebellious.
Fiery.
You don't see eye to eye. You don't see eye to eye. You get to a point where you figure you're an adult and you leave. And so I left. I left and I started pursuing a typical
9 to 5
collegiate
let's call it.
education.
Yeah.
Right. It's something that I have to disclose, to be quite 100% honest, and I'm feeling as though like this is what this program is about.
Yeah, I hope.
But so I needed to go out there and pursue life, basically.
Yeah.
And I need to sustain while doing it. And again, so I went to work, I attended school, and it got to a point where sustaining was very important.
Yeah.
And schooling became, oh wait, this has to wait and be put on the back burner for now. Ironically, it's funny because I feel like money persuades a lot of people. And at that point, at a very young age, I was making very decent money. I was doing the nightlife thing, and then I was doing the day job. I was fitting school in, and then, of course, the schooling part became less of a contribution from my time. But so that starts to happen. I'm now starting to garner far more life experiences, which I would never trade for anything. I have to be honest with you. I think in hindsight, had I pursued that career, I would have studied for 7-8 years.
Right.
And I think to myself, what kind of life experiences would I have missed out on?
That's a great point. Being a clinical psychologist, you're in the office. That's what your life. In a way, your life becomes
irony.
Your life becomes other people's
lives,
problems.
and that's what I thought. I thought I'm going to have my own. I'd rather create my own and solve them in real time and be practical about it, and have hands on, than to go to work, hear someone else's problems out, and not able to truly sort of live out mine.
Sure.
Or live them out vicariously. Who wants to do that? You want to live out vicariously the fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if anything, but it goes back to my original point. In life, this is it. This is what this should be about, right? So that's stuff to still my mom and everyone else. Ironically, whether it was my dad and that's what got me out into the world, I don't regret it, because in talking with him about the experiences I've had, the life I've led, the things I've accomplished, people I've met, my dad couldn't be prouder.
Yeah.
And I remember, before he passed, we talked about it, and he was like, I regret that our relationship was very tumultuous at first, and he was going through his stuff, et cetera. And I think that in turn is probably why I sought after that sort of, why I felt psychology called to me, right? It's having had my own experiences, my own problems, but yeah, so I think back in hindsight, and I think, you know what? I've experienced some great stuff, that being stuck in a room or pursuing a degree and sitting somewhere and again having hypothetical things happen, or assessment of them versus living them is different. And being who I am now, and that could be self-serving, that could be very well because of how things have transpired that I say this, but I honestly feel as though I couldn't have it any other way.
I don't think so.
No,
I mean, so part
people
of this
who know
whole
me
thing,
don't think so either. I think it's who I am. I'm all about like go out there, take life by the horns, live it, experience it.
Well, that's
like,
sorry.
No, I was just it's like being an ambassador, right? People will oftentimes say, "Well, what is it?" Well, I can tell you what it is, but I can also tell you about how I exemplify it and how I live it,
right?
Which is not always in line with what an ambassador is traditionally. Do I tick the boxes?
Yeah,
absolutely. Do I educate? Am I proficient in the subject matter? Sure. I have a passion for it. Does that convey? Sure. But my passion that you sense, that you feel, that you pick up on, isn't coming just from tequila. And I couldn't say that 10 years ago when I first started out. I know that now. What you're experiencing is me. What you're experiencing, the passion you're getting, is stemming from someone who is proud of where his parents came from, is proud of having lived that with them, is proud of knowing that I myself was marginalized and was like a kid who didn't know English and was knocked down for it.
Right.
And now my English is probably better than my Spanish, and I know this about myself, and I'm okay with that. And so the experience that people have with me when they say he's passionate, he's funny, he's whatever, I know that the summation of it all, it's everything I've experienced, everything I've lived is what you're experiencing.
So
that's what I'm leaving on the table. It's not just the fact that I know tequila.
In a way, it's a legacy. It is a social legacy, and you're creating these experiences. But I am curious, go. You're traveling, you're on. Are you able to take that time to yourself? Do you think about starting a family? Do you have a family? All these things that are just that other side of that being public facing all the time.
Right. And you would think after just this conversation, those who know me know that it's absolutely important to me. So why not do it is actually the question I'm pondering now, because I don't have a family. I'd love a family. I love kids. I live vicariously through my brother, who's got 3 amazing kids.
Yeah.
One of which is they're obviously all my nephews. One of them is my godson. And I love them all the same. But of course, my godson is someone that's been there. He's 18. He's the oldest of the 3. I love him to death. And I've learned to, that's the closest experience I've had to being a father.
Sure.
Is mentoring, guiding, helping. I can't imagine loving anybody. These are someone else's kids, right? And the truth is, anyone can say, well, they're my nephews. Of course I love them. But it's different when you kind of want to emulate that. You want that. And then the way we were raised, we're a very tight family. So, of course, inherently, of course I love them. But, I really love these kids.
Yeah.
And if that's the closest I ever come, then
so
great.
It's still all right?
Yeah. But, I do want to experience that firsthand. I would love to do that. It's tough in this job, in this career, right? It would have to come with some sacrifices for sure. Again, it's that thing of, I think that what this career has afforded me and the experiences I've had, particularly because I value those things, right? For me, it's not just everybody puts a value or a sticker price on different things.
Sure.
Sneakers. Hey, some people, it's about the fact that I got to travel to Japan and cop the best sneakers ever, right?
Oh, nice.
For me, it used to be that, right? For me, it's become, I got to go to Austin and experience this exchange. I got to go to Austin and live this. I'm a big art buff. I got to go to Austin and experience this museum. The fact that I've been afforded those sort of sidebar things along with my job are what are important to me now. So now it's who to share it with.
Yeah.
How to again, that conviviality, right? Who to have that intimate moment with and share all these experiences with. It's absolutely the top of my mind. I've had a relationship before. It's tough to endure a relationship in this type of travel.
Sure.
I learned a thing or two for sure. I think if nothing else, when you live these experiences, man, you better take something away. Otherwise, it's been
Can't
in
be
vain.
vain,
Right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Does it feel... You've got love, right? You've got your brother's kids, your godfather, which is a very epic kind of title, right? I mean, does it feel like it's missing, or that it's something that will surface when it surfaces?
Listen, I am only been 2 years in single, and I'm enjoying that part of it.
That's not, all right.
Come on.
That's
I feel
fair.
like you
That's
have
totally
to. Again,
fair.
I mentioned I travel a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So there's the upside there
Of
to
course.
traveling. A lot as you meet other great people around the country.
Other great
Who knows?
people.
It might lead me to move to Austin. You never know. But, so I don't, I think it's something that will come in due time.
Yeah.
I think to your point, back to your original point, and I think the more important question is what do you do to ensure that you have that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us in this industry have that significant other that we sort of share our time with, and maybe they work in the industry as well, and therefore it's easy for you to have that understanding of
Right.
you're busy, I'm busy, but we'll meet, and maybe they're both afforded the opportunity to meet in the same city and that kind of stuff. I've been blessed that maybe that person could come with me, whatever, and that in itself is cool. So I'm really willing and ready to do whatever it takes to nurture and ensure I have that. I mean, that includes, if it means having to make a change, what have you. But so I'm at the point right now where I'm open. We'll see what happens. And when it calls for an adjustment in life,
then you'll
that's something
deal with it then, right?
I'll ponder, yeah. But whether it's, maybe not leaving the industry, but going internal and being more of a brand manager. Maybe it's going in and managing the brand from a tactical perspective rather than being the field person all the time.
Right.
There's different things you can do. I love this industry to death. But again, that's a thing that's important. And we all have different value systems, and we all perhaps will scale it differently on our scale of what's important. But I think we all come to those terms, right? We all come to the terms where all this is great, but it's only better if you're sharing it with somebody or whatever. Right now, I'm just enjoying the freedom.
No,
I'll be honest.
Understood. Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, love's an important thing, but it's only important if it's good. If it's bad, there's no
Oh,
point,
absolutely.
right?
And trust me, there's toxic love.
That's exactly
It
right.
happens. Yeah.
Well, so we've got the most recent chapter, which involves a whole lot of tequila, revisiting Jalisco, going back to the roots in a sense. And I think that's the perfect way to let's talk about Milagro, let's talk about National Tequila Day, and let's sip some of the añejo.
Great, let's do it.
The maturity has set in.
I don't know. I feel like you and I really are on a reposado stage still, but that just might be me avoiding the reality of it all.
No, I am in a repo stage.
I think we are.
I think that as a result of this chat, we're going to have to come up with some diagram that aligns to like the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Right. Are you repo?
Right, and when are you truly, right? You know what's funny about that? Also, we're drinking the añejo now, 100% blue agave, slow roasted Jaliscan agave, and now we're benefiting from that time in barrel, right?
Yeah.
Time's steeped in barrel.
The experiences,
right? Where we as people tend to benefit from all that time and energy, right? And this is what an añejo, I think, is suggestive of. You know, why I say we're still in a reposado stage, because I feel like, well, I'll take that back, because I feel like you could be 80 and probably still say that, right? Because it's that trend, it's that middle ground.
The world's so vast.
Right. And if we're that's the majority of your life.
Right.
And so if we're equating that to like the transitional stage, the learning stage, the fact is I'm still learning. Now, granted, I think that's what makes me, we all want to think we're special, right? But I think that's what does make me, the lack of using the word special, it's tainted. I'm going to use the word me. That's what makes me, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes me, is that the fact that I feel like we're all going to grow from experiences. But you will find people that are barely 40 and that say things like, no, I already know everything. I already know where I'm at.
Rubbish.
Right? And when you say you're still translating, you're still learning.
Yeah.
The response is like, oh, yeah, but I know the majority. I'd say that's borderlining on being jaded, right?
Absolutely,
but that's what happens. And I think part of being in that transitional stage, that learning stage, that bulk of your life, is to be conscientious of the fact that you are still learning, you're still evolving, and you're still growing as a person. This is why I think you and I are definitely still in that stage, right? Because when you're aware, it's that ignorance is bliss thing.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
But I also say that learning is painful, right? Because to grow, to learn, to know about yourself takes a lot of searching, a lot of painful things that you drudge up. But those are things that only grow and foster, that evolution of who you can become, the best representation of yourself that you can be. And that's what I want to share with people when I'm out in the market and I'm dealing with folks, is this is the best version of who I am right now.
Right.
But I expect to be better than this in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. And then in contrast to that, you'll find people who are just like, this is it. And most of us see that as jaded, right? Yeah. Most of us see that as, wait, stagnation. Wait, you're telling me you're done? No,
Why
you're not
be done?
Open yourself up
Absolutely.
to the reality.
Learn a hobby, learn a new skill, learn a new language.
Right. You know, it's funny to take that for granted, but someone said to me, what's the benefit of that? Well, I started a CrossFit class. Been working out recently, and I remember thinking, man, because I was giving me like just a lot of great energy, and I remember thinking, not just physically, but emotionally, and I remember thinking, wow, why didn't I think of this sooner? Why didn't I do this sooner? Well, as cliche as it is, when you take on a new hobby like you mentioned, which is a great catalyst, I think that's a great point you brought up, to open yourself up. Yeah. Not only does it systematically do that, but all the things that come with it are truly what get you to that point.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's I met Mike. This is a cool cat. Mike and I are now having lunch. Mike and I are best friends now. Mike, who knows what you're going to expose that guy to because you took a CrossFit class together, because you joined a book club. Right. Whatever the case may be, it's now about the holistic experience. It's about how that got you out there, and one thing begets another and another and another, and then you become And know, and I mean, how many of us can talk about like a person that we randomly met that impacted our lives in such a way that you're like, I can't imagine had I not stepped in that store, joined this club.
Right, absolutely.
Did this.
It's the difference between your life changing and not.
Right.
It really is that
Can
profound.
you go into it thinking that way?
No.
Maybe not. No. But be open to it. And that's what keeps you from stagnation. And I think part of being an ambassador, part of telling stories, part of sharing your life's experiences is to constantly have them enrich your life in a way that's profound enough that you can recall them with passion, with integrity, and with this sense of truth, right? Because people will always pick up on that.
Yeah.
I think what makes the ambassador team I'm a part of great is that individually these are all good people, and
absolutely
just great individuals. And what happens is the average person interacting with them, we're all average people, us interacting with each other, whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you're aware of it or not, whether it's a forefront in your brain or not, you pick up on those things. You pick up on authenticity.
Oh yeah.
You have an internal dialogue, even if it's happening subconsciously, where you think to yourself, cool, I like this person, great. And here's why. Right? Authenticity is cool. It's important. And when you're the best form of that, people respect it and they appreciate it. They may not always agree with your outlook, whatever, but it doesn't matter.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's about respect and acknowledging that. And that's just it. I think, like, for me, again, that's what people get when they interact with me. And I think it's important to note that we've done a great job of putting a group together that's like that, right? And I think part of what makes you a great ambassador is to continuously grow and learn and let those things and those experiences seep in a way that's going to let you then project out a personality, a sense of self that somebody may not know intimately, somebody may not get or understand wholly, but can respect and connect to, and think, man, that guy knows who he is, or that guy's cool, or that guy made me laugh, or again, he's a good, authentic representation of himself. Because far too many people in this industry and really in the world who represent a commodity or a thing tend to forget that, especially spirits have personalities. And I think how you bring those things to life could be great all the way around, but not everybody, again, does it in a very authentic way. You know, some people, I've had consumers tell me, I went to this tequila dinner and I just felt like I was being sold to the whole time. Right. And my thought was, this is psychologist in me, right? My first thought was, well, aren't we all selling each other on something?
Sure, of course.
Because that's the reality of life, right?
I'm a nice guy, right?
Yeah, right. You like me, right? I mean, that's us selling each other on each other. But how you do it, how authentic it is, that's when people will forego that and not care about the fact that you're there to promote your brand, but rather, I like the way the guy did it. It was so authentic, so cool, so original, whatever the verbiage. It was done in a way that I can relate to, but more importantly, it resonated with me, right? Yeah. And perhaps I'm giving more value than, because somebody can listen to this and think, yeah, well, you are just promoting tequila, and therefore, what do you mean? Again, everyone's different, but for me, when I tell a story, it's me telling a story, oftentimes about me and my personal experiences that come to my dinner, right?
Is Milagro part of you now? Your personality, your life?
It's funny because I've represented other brands before.
Right.
I've been doing this for 15 years. Milagro, I've been doing for 8. So almost half of that time, right? Or well over half of that time. And almost 8 years now. And it's become, I don't want to diminish, it's become my baby. Yeah. In many ways, because it's such a young brand. It's going to turn 20 next year.
That's incredible. I didn't realize.
And having represented it for almost half that, I think to myself, of course you get close to your brand, of course. But for me, why you feel, when you phrase it in that way, why it's a part of me, why it's important to me, has a lot to do with not just the fact that I look after it and that I represent it, but the fact that I find that in talking about growing and always being open, I've grown with it, right? That's right, yeah. And is evolved as it's growing and more people are aware of it. I helped to nurture that, and I've helped in many ways to curate how it is that people see the brand. And it inherently after a while makes it more and more a part of you, right?
More
It
and more
makes
yours. Your baby, you're right.
You become, and so, and it helps that it speaks to me when it comes to obviously the culture behind it, the fact that it's Mexican. It's very important to me. I couldn't be prouder to represent a Mexican spirit. It's what I have a passion for.
Yeah.
It's a country I feel deserves the credit and the acknowledgement and just the awareness of what it's contributing, particularly right now with mezcal and more agave dishes you're about to see coming down the pike. I mean, we've just barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
And to know that the brand's character and our marketing platform is based on things that resonate with me, it only brings me further closer to the brand, right?
That's amazing.
The whole artistry, street artists. I'm a big fan of street art. Urban art, as we call it now, right? It's
Banksy,
getting
man.
broader and broader.
Yeah.
But it's but I love it. I love that street artists put out what's inherent and cool about Mexico, even when they put up a mural. So all those things really resonate with me, and so yeah, it
It
helps
seems like
to
a kind of
bridge it.
a kindred spirit, no pun intended, right?
Yeah,
It
it does.
to-
I think the thing is, a lot of us can represent a brand, and inevitably it will become your baby.
Right.
But you could be a parent to a kid who has a completely different outlook than you do,
That's right.
right? And has a completely different direction or idea of life and where they want to take theirs, and perhaps doesn't quite resonate with you and your outlook and your perspective. Or you can wind up with a kid, right, who vibes
Spitting
with
image
you,
almost. Yeah.
right? And maybe that's not what you want, but you want somebody that compliments you,
Right.
That goes out and does things on their own accord, but that speaks to your values and what you want. And hopefully maybe what you wanted was to be this person, to be outgoing and a go-getter. And maybe those things are my mom consciously wanted for me, for example. But I credit her with wanting to be this person that went out there and found his own way in life.
Yeah.
And I feel like, that's what Milagro's doing as a brand. And so to me, it resonates in that way. It's not just about, so it is a kindred spirit. It's about, if you were a person, right? If you were a person, would we be friends?
We'd be cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we would be
cool.
great. And I think that's what it is. And for every other ambassador out there that's representing a brand, this isn't put down by any means, but oftentimes the catalyst for what we represent tends to be the cocktail side and all that, and maybe that's what we love, and so we represent this brand, but it doesn't always mean that brand resonates with you.
That's right.
In the way that it's not by I would say that it's not by chance or accident that I represent an agave spirited tequila brand.
I don't think it's an accident
at all. Yeah.
Well, so I've got two more questions for you. I know you've got some great things to do. You were at La Condesa earlier talking about tequila.
It's an amazing place, by the way.
Dude,
First time there.
killer spot. Great food. Oh, man.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And again, great representation of Mexico and modern twist and all that good stuff. Fights the cliche of what people perceive.
That's
Mexico
right.
to be like,
yeah.
Which is what I love about
Amazing place.
Yeah.
So one question that I ask every guest, and I'm really, really excited to see how you would answer this. So pick a Milagro or pick a mezcal, whatever you feel like drinking, and go to your favorite bar in the world, wherever that may be. And you can sit there and sip and have a conversation with anybody, living or deceased. Who would you love to get the opportunity to sit and chat and drink with?
This is funny because I feel like everyone's going to say Hemingway and all that.
Lots
right?
of people say Hemingway. Yeah,
of course. So for me, I'm going to keep it super cliche in my own world and take it back to Mexico. And I think for me, it would be either Pancho Villa or it would be probably Frida Kahlo.
Oh,
and that in itself,
crazy. It'd be great. Yeah,
I think that could be cliche to somebody depending on, because I get it. Her art, everything else. She speaks to a lot of people, and a lot of people emulate sort of like her avant-garde, sort of like rebellious spirit.
Right.
But I credit them for that. If they see themselves, if they see her in them, in themselves, and I get it. But I think that's what it is for me. I think to speak to Frida, I think would be interesting because it's a woman's perspective. It's a woman's perspective in an era that was very challenging for women. In Mexico, in many ways, still is.
Yeah.
She was rebellious. She was married to an artist that
Diego Rivera,
was amazing. So I wanted to get a
yeah.
perspective on him
Yeah.
via her. And I love her art. But more importantly, you know, I feel like she resonates with me because everything I just said, and it's actually sort of coming together for me in my head now, but it's that thing of her output was art, and that's what people liked her.
Yeah.
But why they love her was because
of her, right?
and the experience she had and her perspective on why the art looked like the way it did. And although I don't put art out into the world in that way, I wish I could. I feel like the legacy that I have, hopefully, with the people around me that care about me, will be about that. Will be about, again, being the best representation, the most authentic sense of who I am and self. I think that's important to me. And
it's not a surprise you picked someone like Frida
no,
Kahlo.
but I think, and I think that, like, I think it'd be great to get a perspective on, you know, her. And somebody might go, hey, Jaime, you're great at this, you're great, well spoken when it comes to tequila, great, I love that. But what I love that reminds them of me, or what keeps them engaged by me, is who I am as a person and my brand, if you will. Because although that's not something I'm out there pursuing to necessarily exploit, that is what we all do.
That's
people,
amazing,
right?
yeah.
Whenever we talk to anyone, you quickly get past the why we're meeting and you go into the, you know, would I like to meet this person?
That's
again?
exactly right. Yeah.
I want to get out of here. This
is there
great.
a second date or not?
Yeah, is there a second date or not? Exactly. Do I want to hang out further? And that applies to anything, platonic or otherwise.
That's right.
It's not just amorous. It's like you always ask yourselves, like, do I want to hang out with this person?
Right.
And I feel like that's my legacy. Is like, okay, you enjoyed it, great. I know myself, cool shit. But would
be
you like
the dude that people want to hang out with?
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
again, every ambassador I think could say that, but I think everyone's got their approach. Mine just happens to be a very hopefully not too many my my coworkers hear this, but like now people will know that it's far more personal than I even let on sometimes. You know what I mean?
I do. I know what you mean.
Far more personal.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
And so my last question for you, because of course in the spirit of spirits and the spirit of tequila, national or is it international Tequila Day is coming up here?
It's National Tequila Day.
National Tequila Day.
It should be international.
Fucking right, it should be international. What do you have in store for such a day that celebrates your baby?
Well, I know. Well, we're gonna definitely promote a bunch of cocktails that I created and such. I will be getting over a very long, tumultuous week at Tales of the Cocktail. For those that don't know, it's a big congregation of like bartenders and spirits enthusiasts.
The South by Southwest of booze.
Exactly.
That's what I call it.
It's a great way to put it. So we're activating some amazing stuff there. Prelude to the National Tequila Day. So that's the focus, is getting people out there to experience the brand.
Yeah.
Alongside bartenders on Thursday for my Milagro night market, and then I'm doing a bunch of activations over in Fire Island in New York, and then I believe National Tequila Day is on the 24th, which
right?
is that Monday or Tuesday?
That's like a Tuesday, I
That's
think.
a Tuesday at that point. So yeah, I might just
Monday, Tuesday.
go out and celebrate with a few bartenders and that kind of thing. But it's all prelude to that and working our way up to that I think we're going to focus on.
It's amazing, man. And I hope it's great to have you in Austin. It's great to have you in Texas.
To be here. It's been forever.
It's a good spot, man.
It's a great city.
And I'm really thankful and humbled that you'll sit and talk about life with me. It's been really brilliant getting to know you,
I
mate.
appreciate it. Yeah, I hope you edit most of that out, but yes.
We'll see. We'll see. No, of course not.
Yeah, remember, Tarantino.
That's right.
Yeah.
Chili parlor, chartreuse
Yes.
shots. Just
Austin.
That's the end right there, mate. That's the end. So
That's the best.
Jaime, enjoy the rest of your stay in
Thank you
Texas,
very
man.
much.
Hopefully we'll run into each other soon. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Well, there we have it. National brand ambassador for Milagro Tequila, Mr. Jaime Salas, talking about lots of things I like to talk about. Psychology, for one who sipped into Tarantino, and sneakers. I mean, what more could you ask for? And in a sense, those classes that Jaime took, those deep curiosities about psychology and thinking about how other people's minds operate, I got to kind of do that for me, I went to school for psychology for quite some time, and then eventually this all kind of works out, and it's great to get to know Jaime, the man the myth, the guy who's traveling around and actually found himself in tequila in more ways than one. So, Jaime, thank you so much, and I'm glad we get to release this wonderful conversation on National Tequila Day. It is a great day to raise a glass, take a sip, and truly enjoy the beautiful spirit coming out of Mexico. So thank you for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how many times you really like using Excel to generate projections for product revenue over the next 3 years, or if you're thinking, man, I really should probably put out a new record, please keep dancing.